is actually a condensed cell, mainly because there's no light. Now, you could be executed for in excess of 200 crimes during the Bloody Code. From the usual rape, murder, stealing a horse, stealing a sheep, bestiality, walking the street with a dirty face, setting fire to a haystack, down to impersonating a Chelsea pensioner. And the usual high treason. To differentiate, it depended on what your crime was to what happened to your body. If you were just done for horse stealing or sheep stealing, you would be executed and buried underneath the hanging tree or the scaffold. So in your last days on this earth, you would leave your cell 3 times. First time to build a wooden box, second time to dig a hole, third time to occupy both of them. I was paid to do it, but why should I? You've got nothing better to do, may as well keep you busy and pocket the money. Our longest serving jailer, with a bit of luck you might meet tonight, was here for 33 years. Now, he served 33 years as jailer. I loved it that much, he keeps coming back. During that 33 years, he was a blacksmith when he started, but he made enough money to put his own son through law school. His grandson was actually High Sheriff of Derby, which is an appointed position. And his grandson built a house on St Mary's Gate, opposite Shire Hall, which was in them days one of the most prominent streets in Derby. So we went from being a lowly farrier to being one of the most notorious families in Derby with a lot of money. All thanks to the money he was making here. He actually got found guilty and lost his job because he was selling ale to the prisoners. But he was going to the local ale house and buying a nice big jug of ale for a penny. Now we found this in records. Big jug of ale for a penny. He was bringing it over here, splitting that jug in two and filling it up with water.
Yes, ma'am.
And selling it for halfpenny for a small flagon. So they were watering the ale down, so it was well and truly watered down, but there was still a lot of drunkenness. Because if you got money, you could buy anything. A well-heeled prisoner with the money could actually pay to stay in the jail's apartments, which is one of the reasons our current resident jailer was actually done, because he didn't live in his jailer's apartments, which were above here somewhere. He lived in a house off-site, and he let them out to prisoners. So a wealthy prisoner that was in to be transported to Australia or for execution could pay and sleep in the jailer's apartments, which were just like staying at home. So even in them days, money talked. The other things they would do with bodies is they would take you and gibbet you. Now a gibbet was a cage that was hung. What would they do is they'd hang you till you were dead, coat your body in tar to preserve it, put it in a cage and hang it on a post 30 feet in the air within sight of where you committed your crime. The little room on the end has got a bit about gibbeting and a mock gibbet. It is all mock, that is. Our most famous was Anthony Lingard. Now, he was one of the last to be gibbeted. He wasn't the last, but he was one of the last. Because underneath his rotting bones, his own brother committed highway robbery, which is a hangable offence. And a young lady actually committed murder. She gave a poisoned cake to somebody and was actually hung in this jail. His brother got away with it. I think I don't know if he was locked up or whether he was transported, but he wasn't executed. It wasn't much of a deterrent, so, because he hung there for a lot of years. His skull went to Little Dean Jail in Manchester at one stage. There's a copy of it around somewhere. We can't get the original, so we've done a copy. If you weren't gibbeted, they could send you for dissection to the Shire Hall. And what they would do is take your body, cut your body down, put it in the back of a cart, and it would be taken to Shire Hall where a doctor would cut you up in front of a big audience. Because everybody that saw the execution was legally entitled to see the body dissected. They would cut the body up, dissect it, which is how they learned how bodies worked. The chopped up corpse would be on display for a few days, and then the bones would be boiled and built back up into a skeleton and sold to a hospital or doctor to practice on. There's probably a lot of skeletons still out there. Now in these days, what you've got to remember is the church ruled the country. People believed if you weren't buried and buried whole, you didn't go to heaven. Which is one of the reasons a lot of people think that there's still a lot of people around from them days, not many modern ghosts, because nobody believes that now. So, another thing they would do with you, apart from dissection, was hanging and beheading, or hanging, drawing and quartering. That was normally for high treason. Our most famous execution, the Pentridge Plotters or Pentridge Martyrs, Jeremiah Brandreth, Isaac Ludlam and William Turner, were sentenced to be hung, drawn and quartered. They were actually hung and beheaded outside this very jail. Jeremiah Brandreth was beheaded first with an axe. Of the other two, we don't know what order they were in. We're still looking. Because we'd like to know who the last was, because he was the last man in England to be publicly beheaded with an axe. After that, although they still beheaded people, they took the body in a coffin, and a butcher or surgeon came along and did it with a knife later. They didn't actually behead them with an axe. The little room that's got a gibbet cage in, it is a small room. It was a turnkey's room. What had happened is, as jailer, I would pay, they're prison guards now, I'd pay a man to be a turnkey, look after the prisoners, but he would spend the night in the cell next to the condemned man to make sure he didn't kill himself. Because a condemned man, when he left, hadn't got 2 and 6 to pay me. The Crown paid me the 2 and 6. But if he didn't leave to be executed, he was classed as not leaving the jail, so I didn't get my 2 and 6. And the executioner didn't get paid either, so it was in our interest to keep him alive. So we paid a turnkey to spend the night in the room next to him to keep him alive. Make sure that he didn't cheat death. A lot of the artefacts in the museum area come from the jail after this. They come up from Gate. When they were demolishing the Greyhound Stadium, the little JCB digger found something that had been lost for several years, the execution pit. Put his bucket over the wall, backed up nice and gently and straight down into the execution pit. They excavated it, and Richard managed to get some of the finds and put them in there. Others got taken by people that were working there. And then when they cleaned it all out, they filled it with concrete.